Last month, our print on demand brand generated over $208,000 in top line revenue. And in this video, I'm going to be revealing exactly how we run that brand, showing you everything from the site layout to the ads to the products. And the most interesting part, I'm sure, is the P&L, exactly how much we took home at the end of the day after all expenses, showing you how things all shake out. Before we jump in, if you've never seen one of our videos before, long story short, we've been doing this for about a decade. So we've done this before. We've even had a couple of brands acquired in the past. So we've been around the block a few times, and now everything that we're doing today is really just the culmination of what we've learned and simplified it down. I thought that, as we learn more, business would get more and more complex, but honestly, the complexity is just in keeping things simple, if that makes sense. So to start off, looking at our Shopify dashboard. So last month, we had a conversion rate of 2.4% and a $45 average order value. All that means is that if we send 100 people to the site, that roughly 2.5 of them are buying. And when they do buy, they're spending about $45 on the store. So we're selling t-shirts. To cut ahead to the products a little bit, we sell t-shirts that are priced at $30. So this means that people are buying about like 1 to 1.5 shirts, because this doesn't count in the shipping revenue either. And to give you an idea of what the sites look like, and I know that it may look like a 5th grade computer science project, but this is what all the sites look like for all the brands that we've run. When I started out, the stores that I built, I would load up every app, and I thought that it looked really great. But in reality, all the apps and like the little pop-ups and, the little things that hover down here, and then, like all the extra menu options at the top, I had all that kind of stuff. And, we would have all these extra filters and stuff like that. And the sites just got overall like very crowded. And it wasn't until we finally had a realization that the people that we're driving traffic with, like people that are on Facebook and on these platforms, they're really just in a browsing mindset. They're not in a, caring a lot about your brand and who you are. Like, they're impulse buyers. And so they want to see high quality products that they like at a reasonable price, and they want a really clean and fast shopping experience. So now we got rid of all of the really expensive themes, and we just use the default Shopify themes. So this one is called Debut or Dawn theme. They swap them out. It's always like a very Origin-esque type name, like Debut, Dawn of a new era. Tries to make you feel hopeful. Anyway, the thing that makes me feel most hopeful is that it costs $0 and it converts the highest out of any theme that I've used. But anyway, the real crux of the whole business comes down to the quality and the quantity of the products that we're creating. And so we pick a niche, thinking in broad strokes like yoga, outdoors, those kind of broad buckets. Then we come up with 100 designs, and we start with t-shirts in particular. And we try to have roughly 33% are typography designs like these. And then roughly another third we try to do as graphic designs like these. And then roughly another third we do as typography plus graphics like this one. And the reason we do that is when we're launching a new store with about 100 designs, we're really just trying to see what the market's interested in, trying to see what is resonating with people by looking at the cost per click that we'll get into in a second. But the good thing is that these images that you're seeing here, this is also what we use in the ads, which is what we'll go over next. So when we do advertising, there's lots of different channels you can pick. You can do TikTok, Pinterest, Google, pretty much any platform that has a large number of active users is a good place that you can run ads from. The thing that it took me a long time to learn is that you really only have to get good at one. You don't need to be a master of 4 different channels. You can just get really exceptionally skilled at one. And not to say you need to be like an expert in order to see results, but it really just helps honing your focus into one platform. So we use Facebook ads. And the reason I included this screenshot is that it's the classic, like overly complex screenshot that everybody is used to whenever they see an ad account. It just looks like a lot. And we see big dollar signs and we immediately think, I can't possibly spend that much. So this is ruled out for me. But obviously, or maybe not obviously, I shouldn't say that. We start with a fraction of this. So when we start testing the first time, we start with a handful of ads and a much smaller budget. So these are the ads that we're currently running, and I won't go into like the details of like what each campaign does, but pretty much what you need to know is one campaign is finding cold traffic. So that's people that have never heard of us before. Another campaign is finding warm traffic. I know it's probably hard to read, but it's finding people that have already seen our stuff before and for whatever reason decided to leave and didn't buy. And we just get back in front of those people. And that's the retargeting ads. And like I was saying before, here's an example of what these ads look like. So it's very simple, but to break it down, you have your page name up here, which is just our brand. So for this demo store, we did seasonal collections. And then you have the ad copy. And with the ad copy, I found shorter is better. So we do 3 lines, make sure that the bottom line, that it's not so much text that it gives you like the see more thing. You don't want to have that. And then we just use the exact same images that we're using on our collection pages. So we just take all of these out and take them over to the ad account, and we load them up into the ad account, and then we launch with a low budget of about $100 over a weekend. And then we're seeing which designs out of those we're getting the cheapest clicks. And then the whole game becomes how quickly are we able to make more designs like the ones that were getting the cheapest clicks. That's why, even though we launched with 100, now in this brand, we're up to 224. And this is a demo store that we ran as like a short example. The brand that we're currently running, that's like this screenshot is from nearly carbon copy, nearly identical to this, just in a different niche. But same premise, same everything, same type of site layout, same types of mockups, same types of designs, product types, everything else held constant. But these are what the ads look like. And then we're really just in this constant feedback loop. We make more designs, then we see which ones are getting the cheapest clicks. And then we make more designs like those that are getting the cheapest clicks and just rinse and repeat. And then once we're driving that traffic and we start at a super low budget, the real benefit of building on a standalone brand opposed to a marketplace and doing print on demand is we get this awesome asset in our email list. And so you can see here, this is the past 30 days in May. This is overall store revenue was about $210,000. And then email revenue attributed for $46,000. Which this is really exciting, and I like geek out on this stuff because this revenue, we didn't pay anything for that. There was no ad spend, no nothing that went into it. And so here it's the only cost on this is the transaction fees and the fulfillment cost, obviously, which you have on any order. So this revenue here is at about 40 to, we'll call it 40 to be conservative, but about 40% net profit. So 46,000 times 0.4, what is that? 15-ish thousand around there. That's about the profit margin we get from this. And the best part about this is that this continues to compound over time. Your list grows larger and larger. So if you were to look at our email performance from this same time last year, it'd be much lower because our list was way smaller. And so to give you an example of some of the emails we send, and this is not like an email course, but I wanted to give some examples. So there's 2 different types of emails. There's campaigns and there's flows. So we're going to take them apart one at a time. Campaigns are, to put it the simplest way possible, it is you manually send one email to your whole list. This would be like your discounts, your special deals, like this example here. And these are email templates that we give away inside of WeScale University, our coaching community. This is just one of many, but this is a example of the types of emails that we send. So for seasonal collections, it's a spring last call, grab 20% off before it fades. So subject line, talking about the deal, and then plain text emails we found to work the best. Obviously, there's a lot of different approaches to this. This is just simply what has worked for our brand. And we don't send discount emails too often because you don't want to devalue the perception of your brand and people think that, you're just a discount brand. Then they start buying from you because you just have cheap prices and not because of who you actually are, which that's what we are really after. But every time we send one of these emails, it does at least a couple $1,000s in revenue. And then on the other side, we have the email flows, which these are the ones that I geek out on because it's basically you set it up one time, you set up all these automations, and then anytime somebody comes into your business, they're hearing from us for the next, depending on the flow, it could be a week, it could be a month, it could be a whole quarter. But from the time that somebody finds out about your brand, you're marketing to them automatically for the next 2 to 3 months. And again, not overcomplicating things, just starting with the most basic flows, like for when somebody finds your brand, what are you saying to them for the next week after that? Just do it incrementally. And we have all of these flows explained in the free 31 plus hour course that'll be linked somewhere around this video, just on our YouTube channel. You can check it out. But so we do the ads, drive the traffic, goals to get this to break even, if not profitable, which break even is about a 1.8, 1.9 ROAS. Everything above that is just pure profit. And then we're building up our email list on top of that. Then the question is, okay, so what are we actually selling? And for this, we use Printify. So we use print on demand. I've done 3PL, I've done drop shipping, I've done every business model under the sun at this point. Not to brag, shiny objects they'll get you. But I've tested out everything, and I just come back to print on demand because it is the most sustainable, and it's the best, in my humble opinion. It is the best business model to start for a lifestyle brand, meaning if you're not looking to start something that takes over your entire life and you're working in a warehouse to fulfill your orders or doing it out of your garage, picking and packing, all that kind of stuff. I've been there. It's not not a blast. So if your goal is to build a brand that you're able to run from your laptop, print on demand can be one of the best ways to do that. And it also requires basically no upfront capital for inventory, which, you can work with like a 3PL partner and ship all your inventory there, but you have to, outlay thousands of dollars in capital. So we don't do any of that. All that to say. So we use there's Printify, Printful, Gelato, a bunch of different options out there. We use Printify, and they are the sponsor for today's video. I don't do any sponsorships on this channel aside from partners that we actually use. And so far, we've only done it with Printify because I will only ever recommend something that we are currently using in our brand. And so the reason that we like Printify compared to all the other options that are available is, number one, their catalog is just extremely robust. You're able to sell everything from embroidery, t-shirts, sweatshirts, hoodie, wall decor, supplements, which we haven't done anything with that. But what our bread and butter is in the apparel markets. So think classic like Etsy print on demand, but you're selling on a marketplace. We do the exact same thing, but on just our own standalone stores. And the reason that I personally like Printify the best, or I think that it's worked out this way, is that in my experience, they have like best in class pricing. I think the reason that it's turned out that way is that unlike some of the other options where they own all the fulfillment, Printify is basically a marketplace for other print providers to present their services and their own pricing, which kind of creates like a competitive landscape in a healthy way, meaning that it's not a monopoly. It's not like you get one price, either pay it or get out type thing. It's lots of different highly qualified print providers offering their prices, and they break it down for you. So you're able to see shipping rates, shipping times, quality scores. Basically builds a platform where it's on each print provider to be the best that they can possibly be for the end customer, which is us. So that's what I personally really like about them. In addition to that, they've just simplified the whole process. So like when you're creating new designs, you don't need to be technical or anything like that in order to get them fulfilled. You basically just take whatever your design is. If you have a beautiful smiley face like this, this could sell. I think this is great design. You just take it, drop it on there. You can preview it to see how it looks on the mockup, and then you click Save Product, and then they have a direct integration with Shopify. So all of our products get directly published. And a recent update that they had is that now you can take, these mockups. Where are they? These mockups that we make, and we show how to do all this in the 31-hour course. These mockups, now you're able to directly upload this into Printify, so it gets published directly to your store with basically zero additional effort on your part. And so the beautiful part about print on demand and just working with Printify in general is that anytime we take an order, we aren't paying for that order until it's actually been fulfilled. So we don't spend any money with Printify until we've actually made it. And so you can click the link down below to get started with Printify and use discount code WeScale for a free month of Printify Premium. Then next we have customer service. And customer service, when you're starting out, keep it very simple. You can just go with Gmail and just answer the messages that way. I used to just jump right to having a really expensive service or something, but it's just not necessary. Now, since we're at higher volume, we do use a tool called Gorgias that speeds up the process, just helps keep everything more organized. And what I like to look at is how we're doing as a team. So our average customer satisfaction score, we're at a 4.8 out of 5, which is really, really good. You can see top 5% is 4.9. Our first response time, we're getting back to people within 6 hours of their ticket coming in. And the average ticket is resolved in 13 hours, which is really good. Then it's taking about 3.6 messages per ticket to come to a resolution. You don't need to know any of this. I just find it interesting, so I thought I'd share that so we did 200,000 in revenue and we had about 1,300 tickets. So it's not a hard rule, but it is a good general benchmark that maybe you might see something similar. And a way that we've been able to speed up our customer service process a lot, because you just get so many of the same messages. It's like wrong size, swapping an order, changing the address, refund, which our refund rate is about 1.3%. We'll actually see it in a second on the P&L, but 1.3%. But all those emails, you're able to create a GPT, which is what we've done. My wife actually did. This is just an example of a GPT, but the way that my wife made this is you just go over to ChatGPT and you start prompting it saying like, we are X brand, we fulfill these, basically tell them all about your brand. Like, these are our products, these are our policies, these are the common requests. I'm going to copy paste in messages from our customers to you, and I want you to output a response that our customer service agent should copy paste back to that customer. If we didn't have this, these numbers would not be anywhere near where they are right now. Like, it would be, because right now it's just one person who does this, one like part-time virtual employee, and she's able to manage a huge number of tickets without any additional support just because she's using this GPT. And we have trainings on how to create GPTs like this on the channel and in the 31-hour free course if you want to learn more. But now let's get into the good stuff. So the P&L for the month of May. So we did $208,000 in revenue. How much did we actually take home? Now we're just going to go line by line, break it all down for you. So first off, top line gross sales, we had $224,000. The reason like the headline and the screenshot says 208 is that it takes this number minus discounts, and it might do refunds too. 224. Anyway, it's around 208 after discounts. But so we did $206,000 in product sales. So that's out of the t-shirts, hoodies, crew necks that we sold. We did 220 or 206,000. Then in shipping fees, so if somebody spends less than $75 on our site, then we charge them about $5 in shipping. So that collected an extra $18,000 in sales. And then the amount that we paid to Printify was $92,214.95. And so this is for shipping out all of the products, all of the orders internationally. That's the total amount, which I know sounds like a big number, but again, we're not paying any of this until this number is going up. So until we have sales, this number stays zero. So this is a variable cost. Same thing with these down here. And there you can see refunds. So we did 200,000, so it's 1%. So total cost of sales, $111,000, gross profit, $113,000. Then we have our transaction fees. So transaction fees are just credit card processing. So every platform, doesn't matter where you are, is going to have this. Unlike on Etsy, let's actually see. I'm curious what. Okay, so Etsy is 20 cents per listing, and 6.5% of the total order. Then 15%, 12% for sellers with $10,000 or more in sales. Participation is mandatory. Wow. Okay, so 6.5% total order amount. Yeah, so these fees are crazy. It's also kind of confusing to understand. It sounds like it'd be a 15% fee. I mean, this is just case in point why we stay away from Etsy like the plague. Our transaction fees are, it's just the credit card processing. So it's about like 2.7% around there plus 30 cents per transaction. So that's where that comes from. So that comes out to, on $200,000 in revenue, about 5%. Down here, we have our advertising expenses. So $84,000 is what we spent on Facebook ads. And again, like the Printify fee, we kick things off with like a low budget, couple $100 to test the waters while we're quickly doing that iteration process like we talked about. But then the only time that we start increasing this is when we're at a positive, at least a break even to a positive ROAS, meaning we're at least, like break even is about a 1.8 to a 1.9. Around a 2 is where we leave the budgets the same. Then anything that's at a 2.5 or above, we increase the budgets on. So we basically build this to the point that it's a like a money printing machine, not to sound sensationalist, but we don't start increasing the budgets until we're like, all right, we're putting in $1, getting at least like $2.50 back. Because once you have that, a lot of people, myself included as a beginner, I looked at that and just got sticker shock. I'm like, holy shit, there's no shot I can ever pay that. Plus Printify, it's not like that at all. It's let's get it to this at lowest spend as possible. And again, obviously easier said than done. That's why we have a 31-hour course explaining how to do it. But once you get it to this point, then the question's not like, we don't even care about that. Then the question is like, okay, how fast can I spend $1 million and get $2.5 million back? So that's how we think about it. But anyway, spent $84,000 on ads. And Google, you notice how it's a tiny fraction? That's because it's just for retargeting ads. It's not for like cold traffic. That's why we prioritize Facebook. Then next, for overhead expenses, we had $2,200 in general overhead. This is software like Shopify, Klaviyo. And in general, we try to keep these numbers here under 4% roughly of total revenue. So again, we apply the same principle, like cost principle, to everything, whether it's a variable cost or an overhead cost. We just try to keep it as a variable or treat it as a variable cost. So like if our revenue was $10,000 right now, then I would be looking to keep these numbers at about $400 or less, which is very, very doable, by the way. It's just like as you scale up, then we add on things like Gorgias for customer service emails that we talked about. Then we add on, a higher plan on Shopify. But up until we get to that point, we keep things super lightweight. So in total, we had just under $100,000 in operating expenses, which left us with $13,686 in take-home net profit. But it doesn't stop there. So we do enough volume through Printify that we get an additional discount off of the cost of goods sold, which is, it's not a ton, but it adds to the bottom line. And then we have a 2% cashback credit card that we put all Printify, basically all transactions besides Facebook ads go onto this, and we get an extra 2% back on top of that. And then we don't include it on the P&L because it's not really finances, but for every dollar we spend on, where's Facebook? Here it is. For every dollar that we spend on Facebook, we make 4x points back on that. So we spent just call it $100,000 spent on Facebook ads. That means that we made 400,000 Amex points last month. And that's credit card offers vary by country. So take it with a grain of salt, like look up what's available in your area. Don't over index on or over prioritize getting great credit card offers. Build the business first. And then it's really easy to figure out how you want to rake in the points. But at 400,000 points, if you spend it on airlines, which Amex is the best at, then we're looking at roughly like $4,000, like $4,000 to $6,000 in like flights. You could add that in there if you want. But overall, for the month, we had $20,000 in net take-home profit, which is about a 10% profit margin. Now, the reason, there's overhead as a percentage of revenue. The reason that, $20,000 is awesome, definitely nothing to turn your nose up at, but 10% margin, we like that to be much closer to 20%. So that would then have been a $40,000 net profit month. But the reason 20% in particular is that it's a very doable number. Like if I was to say 40%, really freaking hard with print on demand. But with the benchmarks that we have, we're able to hit like 20% pretty consistently. The reason it was lower this month, and down here we have the two major culprits, the two largest expenses. We have our off Facebook ROAS. So basically we spent $1 to make $2.45 back. And then out of $100 made on revenue, $42 of that was going to, I should have done it the other way around. $42 of that was going to our cost of goods sold. So these are by far the two biggest numbers. Like honestly, not even worth talking about overhead expenses since it's such a drop in the bucket compared to that. Like we're talking about like a rounding error looking at overhead compared to cost of goods. So the cost of goods sold, we're able to consistently get around 41 to 42%, which we're right there. It would take a pretty monumental effort to get it down to 35%, but that's okay. We don't have to. We just go higher volume at a more profitable ROAS. So this next month, like in the month we are now, June, our target is to get this up to like a 2.8 to a 3 ROAS because that's the benchmark that we know we can consistently hit that. And then we just pump higher volume. And I got this from, I think it was a Hormozi podcast I listened to recently, that a lot of beginners, as they start to scale, they get sticker shock from the relative profitability diminishing over time. Basically, as we increase our Facebook ad spend, the relative ROAS starts to decrease. That's just the nature of paid ads. But the absolute profit increases dramatically. And so we're still in the phase where we're low enough scale that we're trying to increase this to 2.8. We did a lot of testing this past month that got it, basically proved out tested lots of different ad creatives. Now we've narrowed it down to the ones that are performing the best. Now it's just a matter of this next month, just letting things run while continuing to test, but with a more conservative budget. So overall, $208,000 in revenue, just under $21,000 in net profit. And this is EBITDA, earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization. So this is before the tax man has their cut, obviously. But if you're interested in learning more about this, everything we just went through, this is all that we teach pretty much 24/7 inside of WeScale University, or we have the free 31 plus hour course. And then WeScale University is where we have our expert coaches who have done multiple 8 figures in revenue there to basically answer your questions. And more than that, it's a super supportive and awesome community of people. But before you jump into that, feel free to check out the free resource and go through the process. And also, if you're able to put up with, how long is this? 30 minutes now of my monotone, still kind of sick voice, then I think you'd be a perfect fit. The majority of the people who've had the best results from what we've seen are the ones who are able to stay dedicated and consistent all the way through the process, not people that are just headline hopping and just looking for the next shiny object. That bodes well. So anyway, jokes aside, I really appreciate you taking the time. Your time is extremely valuable. And if you want to see more videos like this where we break down deeper into like each one of these categories, then leave a comment down below. Let me know what you're interested in seeing, and we'll make things happen. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.